In some ways, it's really basic, but it really holds a lot of histories not seen at first glance if we're able to come to it with a lot of questions. My name is Annalisa Madsen. I'm the Gilda and Henry Bookbinder Associate Curator in the Arts of the Americas Department. This is Fruit Piece by Hannah Brown Skeele, painted in May of 1860. One of the first things that strikes me is the high illusionism of the composition. I mean, it's very easy to get seduced into believing that these objects are the objects that Skeele has described so masterfully. You know, those strawberries look so ripe. The pineapple looks prickly. We've got the skins of the bananas, the rough surface of that orange, and that silver. I mean, we're seeing the reflections of light and strawberries. But we're not looking at three-dimensional objects. We're looking at paint on a flat surface. On the whole, we don't know terribly much about Skeele's career except what we can glean through press accounts. She largely painted still lives. She did also do portraiture. She was born in Maine in 1829. By 1858, we know she's in St. Louis because she exhibits two works at an exhibition. And there's a note in the catalog for that show that she had no formal training at the time. So we know that Skeele is starting out on some kind of artistic path. And she must have learned a lot really quickly because 2 years later in 1860, 4 of her still lives were exhibited at the Western Academy of Art in St. Louis. And one of those 4 still lives was this painting, Fruit Piece. And it was already owned by someone. It was owned by Edgar Ames, who was a local businessman. So we know that very quickly Skeele has patrons. This is no small thing in the mid-19th century for a woman artist to participate in the male-dominated art market. Now, middle and upper class women did practice the fine arts in the form of drawing, watercolors, needlework, but Skeele's doing something different. She is painting in oil, she's painting for a public, and she's looking to participate in the art market. It may seem not particularly noteworthy, but these products traveled great distances to be here and at great costs. And so when we think about what Skeele is representing, we need to think about the labor and the power structures involved that enabled this fruit table to be assembled. Many of the fruits depicted are imported tropical fruits. The pineapple, the oranges, the bananas were not natively grown. And in fact, in 1860, bananas are not commonplace, which is kind of hard for us to think about. And this wouldn't change until the late 19th century. So bananas are luxury dessert fruits. So there's a certain prestige in the presentation here of fruits gathered at this table. Pineapples, oranges, bananas were largely reliant on the labor of enslaved people in the West Indies and areas of the Caribbean and Central and South America. That refined white sugar, this is a food product of empire. European colonialists controlled the land, the labor, the raw materials, produced, transported, and profited from these food economies. So when we look at this precisely arranged and delicately rendered still life, we must consider both what's inside the frame as well as what supports it. Fruit Piece represents a new kind of picture in a way. Still life takes on a new role in the mid-19th century in the U.S. It has a new cultural currency in a way because it becomes a category of art now attainable for the growing middle classes and their new interest in fine art. There's also a really intense interest in the rituals of dining. And so there are lots of social dances that are taking place in terms of how people interact with their food, how they dine, and Skeele's painting participates in that dialogue. For me, Skeele's Fruit Piece underlines how food is really an essential point of connection between people and communities. The painting seems serene, kind of all buttoned up and just everything is in its place. It's kind of this corner of the home in a way, but it opens up the world. It's a global painting. We as viewers are fortunate enough to interact with what she created 160 years ago.